Guess what today is?
Sunday.
Close.
The best day ever.
Yes! Today is the best day ever. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Together we're going to say, today's the best day ever. 1, 2, 3.
Today is the best day
ever! Yes, it is. And it's the best day ever again because this is the moment that I'm alive. This is my very best day ever. And as I declare that today is the best day ever, I know that I attract to me the best day ever. And I continually affirm that. And it's funny because my days keep getting better and better. And each day is consecutively the best day ever. And so I just celebrate that. I celebrate that affirmation. I celebrate that with you as our community together. Because we create a group consciousness. Each individual person has kind of their own consciousness, and you kind of meld with a larger consciousness sometimes, okay, a lot of the time, and it kind of depends on who you're hanging out with, right? And you tend to take on the thoughts, the feelings, the vibrations, the emotions of the people around you, and that causes mob mentality. It also causes transformational mentality. So I ask you, who are you hanging out with, and who do you invite into your life to create that consciousness with? I have to tell you, everybody I see here in the room, I want to be a part of your consciousness. And so I'm grateful that you are all here because I know that we co-create something together that has never been done before. We co-create something that has never been done before. And this is a part of Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula. This is something that is a dream that I had, that you have come here to co-create and manifest as a part of this dream. And I know it's something bigger. It's not just my dream. This is your dream that you are creating and manifesting in your life. So Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula is something that you created because you attracted it to yourself. Whether you're a visitor, a guest, who, if you're here, if you were one of the founding members, it doesn't matter because every single person who's here has contributed to this experience that we call community. Bruce's talk was really hit home with me. I think it's beautiful because I think that each and every one of you creates that wing, that eagle that allows this community to soar. If you're just visiting for one time and you sit in the seats, your energy makes a difference. Just by being here. The person that you are is a light in this world. Your light makes a difference to this community. This month we're speaking about freedom. We're exploring all of our core values each and every month this year. This year is our year of saying yes. And so 2013 we're saying yes, and this month we're saying yes to freedom. Freedom is one of our core values of this community. And I placed it intentionally on this month because tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And it's one of the most inspirational holidays, I think, in my life. Because Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the best, not only orators, but movements of peace on this planet. His legacy lives on. His speeches live on. Because his words, he used his words to transform lives and make a difference on this planet. He used his words to create a new experience of life. You can do that too. You can use your words to create a new experience of your life. You can declare that you see a world free from separation and disenfranchisement. You can see a world where people are not judged on their skin color. They're not judged on their sexual orientation. They're not judged on their status in life, but they are judged on the content of their character. That's the world that I buy into. That's the world that I choose to belong into. And I know that Martin Luther King Jr., he held that vision. And although he didn't get to see it manifest, I was born into a world that was already manifesting this. I had no idea that Martin Luther King Jr. holiday was not celebrated in all 50 states until the year 2000. I know. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe that either. And I'm grateful that it's happened. I'm grateful that we take this time to celebrate somebody so impactful in our world. Because these are the celebrations that I want to be having. I don't want to celebrate a war. I want to celebrate somebody making a movement of peace in the world. I have a couple of facts about Dr. Martin Luther King. He was originally born Michael King. He and his father were actually both born Michael King. And his father changed his name to Martin Luther, and he changed his son's name when he decided to change his name. So they're both, of course, Martin Luther King. The other fact I read was he actually got a C on his first year in seminary school on oratory class. Yeah. See, there's hope for me yet, right? Actually, he graduated in valedictorian, and he ended up getting an A his last year in class. Surprise, surprise, right? He also was the youngest person at the time to win a Nobel Peace Prize. In 1964, he won a Nobel Peace Prize at 35 years old. One of the youngest people to win the Nobel Peace Prize. That's something to be proud of. And he studied, when he entered his seminary, his theological school, he heard about Gandhi. And this was the same year he entered his theological school was the same year, I believe, that Gandhi got assassinated. And he realized what an impact this man had made on the world of nonviolence. And he studied Gandhi, and he studied all of his philosophies about nonviolence, and that actually made him have an impact in that movement of nonviolence. Just because he studied this man, this inspiration. He also was not very well known. When he made his first march, let me see, I forgot the name of it. It was the Montgomery Bus Boycott. In 1955, he was named as the spokesman. And nobody even knew who he was. And of course, the Montgomery Bus Boycott in 1955 was when Rosa Parks had refused to get off the back of the bus. And so they made a boycott of the bus system because they wanted to create a world that was free from separation, free from limitation. And he was not even a known person at that time. And of course they picked a great entity to be the spokesperson for civil rights in this country. I love Dr. King because he had a dream. He had a dream of freedom. And he had a dream that he believed was possible in life. He stated his truth and his intention, and he told everybody about it all the time. And I invite you to think about, what is your dream? What is your intention? And if you have a dream and an intention, are you telling people about it all the time? Just because it hasn't manifested in your life at this moment, are you limiting yourself from creating that dream, that future that you know is possible? Because I believe in that future. I believe in having a dream for my own life. I believe in having a dream for this planet. And I believe that if I make a change in my own life, and I live in alignment with my dreams, that I invite that same possibility into somebody else's life. Every time I make a step towards my greatest expression of life, I give permission to other people. I take the lead of that group consciousness. And often I'm surrounded by people who are already taking that lead. And I find it's easy to make that step. It's easy to make a change. It's easy to make a difference in somebody's life. So don't think it's selfish because you want to live the life of your dreams. It's not. It's perfectly acceptable. As a matter of fact, if you live the life of your dreams, you are creating a planet where everybody can live the life of their dreams. I read an article about a woman. She wrote this article. It's called How to Live the Life of Your Dreams, 5 Steps to Freedom. Her name is Karen Mehringer. I can't say her name very well. Karen and her husband John lived in Seattle. And they both had very successful jobs. They were both working very, very hard. And they would come home completely exhausted from work. And they'd watch TV to chill and veg out. And then they'd go back the next day and they'd work really, really hard. And then they'd be exhausted and they'd come home and they'd veg out and they'd do nothing. And maybe this is something that might be happening in your life. I don't know. I'm guessing that their story is the story of a lot of Americans today. That a lot of people just work hard, they're so busy, and or have such a hard, stressful day at work that they just come home and veg out. And they don't have fulfillment. So Karen and her husband John looked at each other one day and they said, there has to be more. There just has to be more to my life. And they decided to figure out what their passions were. They discovered that they both have a passion with sailing. And so what they did is they started getting sailing books, and they started getting sailing magazines, and they started looking at sailing groups, and they started taking sailing classes. And they realized that being on the ocean gave them this freedom of expression, this freedom of aliveness that they had never felt before. And they started reading books about couples who had sailed across the world together. And they realized that if it's possible for these couples to sail across the world together, that maybe it's possible for them. Maybe they could sail across the world together. And they thought about it, and they thought, how can we create this? How can we make this happen? And one of them had an idea. What if we crewed a ship that sailed across the world? Then, for very little money, we could not only learn how to do everything, we would be a part of the whole crew. We could cook meals, and sometimes we could, guide the ship. And I don't know all the sailing terms, they're all in here. They're all in my notes. They said we could navigate, helm the boat. They could do watches, they could do cleaning, they could cook meals. And after they applied for a couple of positions, they got accepted to a position for a 46-foot sailing ship. They put their jobs on hold for a year, and they rented out their house for a year, and they joined the sailing ship. They went to Fiji, to Singapore, they went to Australia and Indonesia, and they got to live this exciting, dynamic life for a year, sailing a ship together. And it was so exciting and invigorating and joyful and fun and freeing that they realized that this is what life is about. Whenever you're tapped into your passions, to your dreams, something awakens inside of you. Something awakens with the Holy Spirit, I'm going to call it. It's the Holy Spirit awakens inside of you. It draws forth that which you want in your life. There's an energetic vibration that attracts to you that thing that you're excited about. She had an exercise, 5 steps to create freedom. And I'm going to do that exercise with you today. I'd like to invite you to take either the piece of paper that we have the song notes on, or in the back of your bulletin, there's a little note section. And we're going to do the 5 steps to freedom. Does everybody have a pen? Everybody has a pen? Everybody has a piece of paper? Okay, step number 1. The first step, living the life of your dreams, is write these words: I feel most alive when. want you to write. I feel most alive when, and write a stream of consciousness. Go. Okay, now with what you've come up with, look over what you've written. And step 2 is take that and make a list of your passions. See what you wrote and create a list of what your passions are. That's step 2. We'll have 1 minute for this. Step number 3. Write down, if I were to make more of a commitment to the expression of my passions, what might that look like? If I were to make more of a commitment to the expression of my passions, what might that look like? Write that down for 1 minute. Now we're going to do a very short meditation. And I'd like you to close your eyes, close your eyes, and visualize yourself doing your passions. Visualize yourself doing what it is that brings you the most alive. How does it feel to express yourself fully? What are the sights, the sounds, the colors? Feel the expression of joy and freedom in everything that you do. Now feel gratitude for that feeling of expression of joy. Feel grateful for that passion, for that aliveness. And when you're ready, open your eyes again. That was step number 4. And I'd invite you to do this whenever you get home too, and have a longer meditation. I'd recommend 10, 15 minutes of just feeling that expression. And then step number 5 is picking an object that represents this feeling that you have. For instance, I was reminded whenever Bruce had his talk about community, choosing a picture of an eagle, something that represents to you what that feeling of freedom is, what that feeling of passion and joy is. The woman who wrote the article, she put this fiery dancing goddess photo on her computer because that's what reminded her of that feeling and that emotion. And put it somewhere, put this object somewhere in your life where you're going to see it. Put it on your mirror in your bathroom, or put it on your computer at work. Put it somewhere where you can see it every day, where you can be reminded of your passions. So that's the steps to freedom, the 5 steps to freedom. Really easy. Perhaps some of you are thinking, wow, how can that really happen? Well, we teach something here called the law of attraction. Maybe you've heard about it. The law of attraction is basically also the law of reciprocity. What you put out comes back to you. As humans on this planet, as humans, as beings, we actually are divine expressions of light. We are a part of that infinite everything that I call God. Some people call it the universal field if you're a quantum physicist. Some people call it Buddha, Brahman if you're Buddhist. It is that infinite everything. And each and every one of us is an individualized expression of that thing. But that thing is not outside of us or inside of us, it's both. It's all. Everything is that one expression of divine light, of divine love. And we are moving in and through it, individualized expressions of it, co-creating within it. As we do that, we get to choose how our life is going to be. We send out vibrations of love and expression everywhere that we go. We say yes. Every time there's something that you see in your outward expression that you want to have, you say yes to it. You celebrate it. And as you celebrate that thing, let's say your coworker got a promotion, as you celebrate that thing with them, you draw a similar vibration towards you. As you celebrate those things that maybe you don't physically have in your life at this moment, you draw them forth into your own life. If you say no, like you get mad or you get angry or you're judging somebody because of something that they had, you're doing just the opposite. You're saying yes to, I don't want to have that. You're always saying yes no matter what you do. The question is, are you saying yes by drawing it forth into your life? Or are you saying no by pushing it away and you're saying, yes, I don't want this? If there's something in your life that's bothering you that you don't like, it's good to not focus your attention on it. Because where your attention goes, energy flows. Whatever you focus on, that's what you get to experience. There's one last story I wanted to share with you today. It's a TEDx talk done by a guy who runs a website called Man vs. Debt. He was married to his wife, and he realized that he was collecting debt. He was collecting loans. He had a loan for his wedding. He had a loan for his wedding ring. He had loans from his family. He was even collecting a mortgage. He wanted to collect that too. So he just wanted like a collection of loans instead of a collection of experiences, right? And he realized with his wife that his life was not serving him. He had bought into the American dream of consumerism. He had bought into that dream of having the next best TV, the next best phone, the next best whatever, and it wasn't making his heart sing. And he and his wife decided, after they looked at their $18,000 credit card debt, that they were done. And they wanted to live the life of their dreams. And so they sold all of their crap. They sold all of their stuff. They got rid of it. And they got rid of all of their debt. They put 2 backpacks on their shoulders with all of their belongings, and they went to Australia to live and backpack for a year in Australia. And he said, as he started selling his stuff, he became more and more and more free because he felt limited and held back by his stuff. Instead of being filled with expression and love, he was filled with limitation and lack. He said this quote that I love. There are thousands and thousands of people out there living lives of quiet, screaming desperation who work long, hard hours at jobs they hate to enable them to buy the things they don't need to impress the people they don't like. That's by Nigel Marsh. That quote's by Nigel Marsh. And he realized that in America we have 2.2 billion feet of storage space, of covered storage space. So as Americans, we have so much stuff that we move our stuff into storage so we can get more stuff, right? And I just want to preface this. I'm not condemning anybody for having things at all. That's not what this is about. You are free to have as many things as you want. And if you want them and they make you happy, then you're free to have them. For him, he realized that he was not free. His stuff limited him. It limited his freedom. It limited what he could do in his life. He couldn't drop everything and go somewhere. And that's really what he wanted to do. He asked the question, what does freedom mean to you? I gave you the definition of freedom in the dictionary 2 weeks ago. So you have the dictionary definition of freedom, but it doesn't matter what the dictionary says. What really matters is what you say. What do you think freedom means to you? What is freedom to you? And maybe freedom is having that house purchased and bought. Maybe that is freedom to you. Maybe freedom is traveling the world. Maybe freedom is having your own album and having it be successful. Maybe freedom is being in a job that you're passionate about. What does freedom mean to you? It means something different for everybody. And that's the big question that we're exploring today. What does freedom mean to you? Oftentimes, we're even limited by our thoughts of the past and our thoughts of the future. Lao Tzu said, if you are depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. And I invite you to look at every moment. If you're feeling depressed, maybe you're being limited by your own past. Because nothing is happening anywhere except this moment. The only moment that's really happening is right now. The past, if it's bothering you, it's in your head. You're creating it. You're creating that limitation because you're the one who remembered it, and then you're bringing it forward, and then you're feeling that you're recreating whatever happened in the moment, and then you're feeling all depressed and upset about it. But really, it's not happening right now. That thing isn't happening right now. What's happening right now is now. Now is the only moment that's happening. And if you're thinking about the future and what's going to happen and how you're going to get things done, it's not happening right now. If you're in the present, that's the place to be. This is the cool place to hang out. This is the place to chill. Right here, right now, in this very moment. And the way to create a future is by feeling that emotion and that passion for your dreams. That's the way that you create freedom in your life. That's the way that you create that thing to be expressed in that moment now. Is you feel it. You feel the passion for life. So today, I invite you to think about, what does freedom mean to you?